This video will highlight the proper installation techniques for a Ucrete Hpq flooring system. Prior to installation, the properly prepared floor must be completely clean and dry, with particular attention given to any keyways or control joints, as water and debris will tend to accumulate in these areas. Teamwork is very important when installing Ucrete floors. Because of the unique handling properties of our Ucrete systems, every team member must know their role prior to the first batch of material being mixed and placed. When mixing any Ucrete material, first add the full contents of Part 1, which is white in color. Then add the full contents of Part 2, which is amber in color. Turn on the mixer and allow them to mix until they are a unified caramel color. While the mixer is still running, slowly add the contents of Part 3. Unlike installing epoxy-clad material, the Part 3 is necessary for the curing process. The floor will not cure properly without all the packaged Part 3 aggregate being added. The typical mix time of Ucrete is 3 minutes. However, the mix time is very temperature dependent, and it is recommended that you refer to the time and temperature chart printed in the Ucrete Contractor Installation Instruction Manual for proper mixing times. Ensure that the Part 3 aggregate is all wetted out and thoroughly mixed. Scraping the sides of the mixer and cutting the middle may be required. This will minimize the risk of lumps being transferred to the finished floor. Once all the components have been mixed, the batch is ready to be installed. Because you only have 7 to 10 minutes to work with the Ucrete material, timely deliver the material to the work area. First, ribbon the material out. And then have another mechanic follow with a pin or gauge rake and roughly level out the material. Take notice of the keyway that is cut into the floor 3 to 4 inches from the termination point. It is equally important to have a straight edge installed as well. The straight edge not only results in a clean and straight seam, but it will also set a consistent height so that the next section of the floor will meet flush. You can see that it is very important to get on the material as soon as possible with a finishing trowel. Trowel men should be stationed approximately every 8 to 10 feet apart to ensure that the material is finished and closed properly. With consistent mix times, good teamwork, and the proper amount of mechanics on site, the material is very workable and will level out nicely. The process of pouring out the material in a ribbon, followed by the gauge rake, is repeated. The areas that have been finished troweled are then back-rolled with a spike roller. Once the surface has been spike rolled, it is very important not to walk back onto the floor with spiked shoes, as this will cause pinholes in the finished floor. Because the Ucrete HP cures very rapidly, its healing properties are reduced very quickly. For this reason, if at all possible, it is always best to spike roll the material from the concrete, therefore never having to walk on the material with spiked shoes. This will greatly reduce the risk of forming pinholes in the surface. While the mechanics are continuing the process of ribboning and troweling, the broadcasting procedure begins. It is very important to start broadcasting, typically within 15 minutes of the material being poured and troweled onto the floor. On this job, broadcasting began once approximately 12 feet of Ucrete HP material had been leveled out. For this particular application, gray quartz is being broadcast. Notice how the man broadcasting the quartz is doing so from the sides and not walking out onto the floor. It is possible that spiked shoes could create pinholes just below the broadcast surface, and these would not become evident until after the floor is in service. The quartz should be broadcast at approximately 1 1/2 pounds of quartz per square foot. Note that this is well beyond the point of rejection. Broadcasting beyond the point of rejection is required in order for the additional volume to deliver a uniform texture and weight to force the quartz down into the troweled material. This will deliver the design performance of the system. Because the Ucrete Hpq system is 100% solids and has a very fast turnaround time, it can be installed in close proximity to operating equipment in processing and manufacturing environments. After 12 hours, excessive quartz can be swept off and the drains and other masked details uncovered. The surface should be brushed over lightly with a sanding block to remove any remaining loose quartz. Also at this time, any detail work should be completed, such as grinding any rough edges and ensuring that all control and expansion joints are identified and properly treated. Once this is finished and the surface has been vacuumed, the lock coat can be installed. The particular lock coat material can vary based on the client's in-service needs. On this job, the crew is installing chemically resistant 100% solids epoxy, Selby A665 and B630 system. This epoxy is mixed at a ratio of 2 parts A to 1 part B. On this installation, some aluminum oxide is being added into the clear epoxy lock coat to reduce the sheen of the finished floor. After proper mixing, the lock coat material is installed in a similar manner as any other broadcast system. The actual coverage rate can vary widely based on the broadcast texture. A safe practice is to ensure enough lock coat material on site to cover 80 square feet per gallon. Care should be taken when back rolling so that excess lock coat material does not puddle, especially around any depressions, such as floor drains. Installers should take the additional quality step and cross-roll the floor. This will assist in providing a more uniform finish to the floor. From this vantage point, one can see that on large projects, it is best to break the floor into smaller, manageable sections. Because of this, it is normal that each section will be at various stages of completion. Once the lock coat is cured, the joints can be cleaned and filled flush with the appropriate sealant material. You can see the result of the straight edge that was placed at the beginning of the project. It is now ready to accept the proper tie-in of the next section of floor. This concludes our review of the installation highlights of the Ucrete Hpq flooring system. While it is always recommended that our Ucrete contractor installation instruction manual be on site for reference, if additional information is needed, please do not hesitate in contacting your Selby Ucrete Regional Sales Manager or our Technical Service Department in Cleveland at 800-628-9999. Thank you for installing the Ucrete Hpq flooring system.